This question, let's underline what's important here. She's paid, so she's planting trees, she's paid $55 a day plus 15 cents for each tree. You are to draw a graph showing the relationship between total earnings, and they told you what variable to use, E, and the number of trees that she plants, which is going to be represented by the letter N. So if you answered this question and you used two different variables, but you got the equation right, you'll still get a code 40 if the equation is right. Let's try and come up with the equation first. It says to write an equation to represent this relationship between earnings and number of trees planted. Once you come up with the equation, it will probably be much easier for you to graph this. So how would you show, yep. Okay, think about it. We're trying to figure out how much money she earns. And it's on the y-axis already. Any variable that is on the y-axis is the dependent variable. Do you guys remember this stuff? The earnings depends on the number of trees she plants. She makes more money as she plants more trees, right? Make sense? So what is earnings equal to? Go back to the question. How would you calculate, if this was you and you were planting trees for in Northern Ontario, how would you calculate how much money you would make? This is the information. Yep. She gets $55 a day, no matter what. If she plants 0 trees, how much money does she get? 55. Okay? So we already know a point on the graph. 0 trees, she gets $55 automatically just from showing up. That's her flat rate. That's referred to as, it starts with an I, initial. This is the initial value. In other words, it's going to be on the, I'm glad some people are paying attention, the y-intercept, okay? So would this be M or B? In the equation, y equals mx plus b, which one's the y-intercept? B. This is my initial value, okay? Even if she doesn't plant any trees, she makes $55. So what scale did you guys use to graph this?
20.
You counted by 20? That's really small. 5, 10, 15, 20. Shh. The first point would be at 0, and here's 40, here's 50, 55. Okay, that's my first point. What happens every time she plants a tree?
15 cents.
She's getting plus 15 cents per tree. How would you show 15 cents as a dollar amount? Yes? 0.15 N. If you wrote 15 N, that's incorrect because that means you're multiplying it by $15. It's 15 cents. Okay? So every time we plant a new tree, we get an additional 15 cents. So is my graph going to be increasing or decreasing? It's going to be increasing. Now, they've actually already provided a scale on the x-axis for us, number of trees. I'm actually just going to skip to 100. Now that I have my equation, if I plug in 100 for number of trees, can I calculate how much I'm going to earn?
Yes.
So what's 0.15 times 100? 15. 15 plus 55, because remember she gets $55 just for that day. 70. So I know that I'm going to have a point at 100 and 70. So let's plot that point, 65, 70, okay? And let's do the last point, 200. If she plants 200 trees, I know it's going to be somewhere around here. What is it? How much does she earn? $85. 85, right here. Okay? So your graph should look something like that. And this is the equation everyone should have come up with. Doesn't matter if I write that as E equals 0.15 N plus 55, or if you write it as 55 plus 0.15 N.
No.
Same thing. If I write it this way, it's easier for me to identify my slope and my y-intercept. What is the slope of this line? Yep. 0.15. That means that every time you increase the number of trees by 1, you get another 15 cents, okay? Make sense? And let's actually calculate our slope. This is another little review thing I want to do. When you're calculating the slope, when you're counting it on the graph, you need to look at your scale. Remember I talked about this when we did one of the units? I'm going to calculate the slope between this point and this point. Right now, this point is at 0 and 55, and I'm rising to, what is this, 65, 70, okay? So I'm rising from 55 to 70. Each square doesn't represent 1. Each square represented 5. So I'm going up 5, 10, 15, right? Everyone see that? My rise is 15, and what's the run? We're going from here, from 0 to what? Yep. 0 to 100. 0 to 100. What is 0 to 100 real quick? Okay, so the run is 100. 100. What is the slope of this line? What's 15 divided by 100? 0.15. Look at our equation. That's what it should have been. So it matches. It's correct.